Hey guys, it's Landon Blake with Redefined Horizons and LandonBlake.com, and this is another video in our set of videos that help you get started with Python programming on a Microsoft Windows operating system. So what I wanted to show you guys today is how you can set up a project folder structure for a Python desktop application, and then import that into Spyder. Before I get into the project structure I've set up, let me share this web page for you. It is at Real Python, and it's about Python application layouts, and it's got a couple different examples. Starts off super simple and then gets slightly more complex. It doesn't talk about tkinter or PyQt apps specifically, but I think all the same principles apply. I loosely based the project structure I'm going to show you on their more complex example here, application with internal packages. But I say loosely because I did make some changes. And then I also want to point out, before you decide how to structure your project folder, you should also read about how Python works with modules and packages, which the folks at Real Python also have another good page on that. So that helped me quite a bit. So I'll try and remember to get those two links into the description. Okay, so let me show you, give you a little tour here. So I've got this project called Inhibio XML. Inhibio is Latin for constrain or inhibit. So this is going to be a little open source XML validator that I'm going to work on with a little tkinter graphical user interface. So I'm kind of excited about that. So let me show you how I set up this project structure. And I'm using the naming convention that we follow at my company, Redefined Horizons. So folders get camel case basically, and text files or files get all uppercase, and we use spaces and file names and folder names. Now I will tell you right off the bat here that what will go into the code folder under Python in here will follow the Python naming convention. The folder names will be lowercase, and file names will be lowercase with underscores. We will follow the kind of standard Python naming convention in this Python folder. Okay, so at the top level, I've got a code folder here. That's where we're going to put the source code. Now, if you read the article I showed you on Real Python, they'll say don't do this. They say just put all your code right here in the project root. I'm going to have a code folder because I may, on some of my projects, actually have code that is written in more than one programming language, depending on what we're doing. So, for example, I might have some C# code in here, or I might have some Autolisp or Visual Lisp code in this folder if I'm working in CAD. I want to keep that segregated, and so that's why I made a Python folder. The other reason is I don't plan on distributing this project folder structure outside of my company unless there's some kind of special circumstance. So that's why I have this distribution folder, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, so the data folder is just for like sample data that we may want to work with in the project, which could also be helpful for some unit testing and other software testing. Okay, so the distribution folder is where I'm going to put either the files or the folder structures that actually get distributed. Okay, and I have two subfolders in here. So I have a lib folder. That is going to be the Python files that represent the library. So in almost all of my Python projects, I separate out the code that can be reused as a library in other software projects from my own kind of front ends. And so that's what will go here in the lib folder, and that'll be structured kind of according to a standard Python format, and will ultimately get loaded to PyPy, I think. So that'll be the lib. So the full distribution is going to be what an end user would install on their computer, and I suspect that will probably be a .exe made with something like PyInstaller and maybe a license file. But depending on what I'm doing, there may be some other things in there. So in this case, the main for this project in Hibio XML, the main thing that people will be interested in is the library, because you'll primarily be using using this to validate XML files in another software package. But it is going to come with a simple graphical user interface in tkinter, and so that would be in the full distribution folder. All right, then we got docs. That'll be pretty simple. I'm still learning about Sphinx and using Markdown. So I'm gonna try and follow that standard Python convention. Although I may do some documentation in PDF format, either in Microsoft Word or in Inkscape. I haven't decided yet. Then the exe folder, that's just where I'm going to put all my PyInstaller files and the working exe files before they get moved over to the distribution full folder. So that's just kind of a working area for putting together executables. Then I have a junk drawer. This has got some notes for myself on the implementation and the schema structure that I'm going to use. So it's got kind of a example schema structure here that will be used for the validation. So I'll just be putting miscellaneous folders in here. I might have a list of tasks, a to-do list in there. One thing I forgot to show you, I think in distribution I've got a change log set up, so I'll be putting my changes in there. And then I've got the license. This particular project is going to be under the LGPL. Okay, so that's my project structure. Let's see how we get this in to Spyder. So I've got Spyder open here, and I have the project pane open. So there's my outline view and my project pane. So what we want to do is we want to we don't want to do a new project because I already have the folder structure set up, but we can't open the project because it's not a Spyder project yet. So Spyder puts some files into your folder structure that allows the IDE to recognize it as a Spyder project. So what I want to do is say new project, and we're going to say from an existing directory. Okay, and we are going to give this project a name. So let's go, we'll click this. I'll say select folder. It drops the name in there. I'm going to say create. So you can see that works really slick. Now I've got everything I need in here, right? All my folders are coming up. Okay, and so what we could do is we could go in, for example, and create our first Python package. Okay, so my package name is going to be Survey OS. Survey Open Source, that's the name of the organization I use to distribute all my code. Okay, and then we're going to make a new package in there, so a sub package called Inhibio. Okay, and then I'm going to have one more layer. Nope, that's it actually. Inhibio will be it. Okay, so that's going to be my last package. And then what I'll have in here is I'll have what Python calls modules. Sorry, that's not what I want. I want a new Python file. Oh, there you go. So, okay, so, and this is part of how you structure your application, right? So I'm going to have, I think I'm going to use this as a standard convention on my project. So I'm going to have model.py. That's where essentially the class library is going to go. So a reusable class library that somebody could grab and use in other programs. So we'll call that model.py. Okay, and then I'm going to have another Python file that will contain the graphical user interface code. So we'll call that GUI.py. Okay, and then I'm going to do another one, and this is going to be for the, so I'm going to call this tools. So that'll have some code that sits on top of the library code, but outside of the GUI. So it's like the controller code in a model view controller structure. So we'll call that tools.py. Okay, and then I'm going to have one last Python file, I think, that I'm going to just call helpers. That's going to be for utility code. Okay, so now I've got my project set up, right? We'll go in and we'll tweak these comments. But we've got a nice looking project structure here that plugs right into the Spyder IDE. And I'm going to try that out. I'm not saying that I won't make some changes, but and then some of this is probably just the Java programmer in me, used to working in Eclipse. I just wanted a little more structure than they talk about in the Real Python article. So I may make some changes to this as I become a more experienced Python programmer, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of how you might set up a project structure for Python desktop application, which is mostly what I'm going to be creating in my Python code.